Hi, it's 2019 and welcome to our Golu. The Golu is celebrated by the arrangement of various dolls and figurines, as you can see here. Each of these dolls represent various Hindu deities or various Hindu customs. Now, this is celebrated as Navaratri. Navaratri means 9 nights. It starts on the night of Mahalaya Amavasya and it finishes on the 10th day of Vijayadashami and is celebrated all over India. Right now it is late September, early October. It corresponds to the month of Puratasi in the Tamil calendar. So people celebrate Navratri for various reasons, but my personal favorite reason is it commemorates the victory of goddess Durga over the evil Mahishasura. So it's a festival that celebrates the triumph of good over evil. It commemorates the inner Shakti of every woman. Now, the Shakti is the female embodiment of all the cosmic energy. So, the Shakti resides in every woman, and this festival is dedicated to all the women who have Shakti within them. So, I'm going to explain something about our Golu to you. Before we keep the actual Golu, we start by keeping this Kalasam on the day of Amavasya. This Kalasam is basically a pot. It contains turmeric inside it, and like we herald the beginning of all auspicious Hindu customs, we have a coconut, and this coconut is coated with turmeric. And we have some coins inside, and then this is Mavela, which are the leaves of a mango tree. And after we keep the Kalasam, we keep this Marapachi Bomma, which is basically a pair. It has one male and one female, and it's made of wood. So these are handed down from generations, and these dolls represent unity and how two opposite forces are often needed to make things complementary. Okay, so right on the top here, we have Lord Vishnu who is resting on his pet serpent, Sesha. So it is believed that Vishnu, who is the preserver of the world, he had 9 avatars. The 10th avatar is yet to be seen. While his snake Sesha is also believed to have been reincarnated as Ram's brother Lakshmana and as Krishna's brother Balram. And over here we have Pudayar and Kartikeyan, who are both the sons of Lord Shiva, who is represented as this Shivalingam here. And over here we have Ashtalakshmi, the 8-faced goddess Lakshmi. You can see only 5 faces in this idol. And next to that we have Lord Ram and his consort Sita on his left and his brother Lakshman on the right and his most trusted and loyal friend Hanuman. And over the far end we have Ulaga Alanda Perumal. So this is basically Lord Vishnu. The legend has it that Lord Vishnu took the avatar of a very small pandit called Vamana just to take on a very evil king named Bali. So Vamana went to Bali and demanded from the king that he gets 3 pieces of land. And Bali thought, okay, since you're such a tiny man, I will give you 3 pieces of land. And that's when Vamana took his true avatar of Lord Vishnu, and with one footstep, he covered the entire earth. And in his second footstep, he covered the entire heaven. And he was about to keep his 3rd foot, and there was no more place left. So then he asks Bali, you promised me 3 pieces of land and I only have 2. By then Lord Bali recognized who the Vamana actually was, and he was so humbled that he bowed down in front of Vishnu with his head bowed, and he said, please place your foot on my head as the 3rd step. So this is Lord Hanuman, and you can see on his shoulders he is carrying Lord Ram and Lakshmana, his brother. So when Hanuman was in the forest and Ram was desperately trying to search for Sita, he approached Hanuman and he explained his predicament to him. And Hanuman was so overwhelmed at the story that he told Ram that he would give him his allegiance and he would take him to the monkey king Sugriva. So he assumed his true form, and then he carried Lord Ram and Lakshman on his shoulders and took them to meet the king of monkeys Sugriva. And over here we have Lord Shiva with his son Pulayar on his lap, and here we have his consort goddess Parvati with her other son Kartikeya on her lap. And here we have goddess Durga, who sits on her vehicle, which is a lion. And here we have her as Mahishasura Mardini, the slayer of the Asura Mahishasura. And here we have Goddess Lakshmi, the Hindu goddess of wealth, abundance, and prosperity. And over there we have Lord Narasimha, which is an avatar of Vishnu, with his consort Goddess Lakshmi on his lap. And here we have another Manbomme of Lord Ram hugging Lord Hanuman. This is a Manbomme which is made of clay and mud. And over here we have a fiber bomme. This is called Sammohana Krishna. So this is representing one half is Krishna and one half is his lover Radha. It symbolizes balance and harmony. This is again an idol of Goddess Durga. And here we have a yellow pullayar, which is a pullayar which is made of leaves. And over here we have Lord Hayagriva. Lord Hayagriva is believed to be another incarnation of Vishnu who has the head of a horse and the body of a human being. He stands over a lotus with his consort on his lap. Lord Hayagriva is believed to be the god of wisdom and higher spiritual learning. And it is often said that if you want to pass your examinations, apart from studying, it will actually help you if you prayed to Lord Hayagriva. Remember, he likes males made of cardamom. And over here, we have Ulaga Alanda Perumal again. And over there, we have an idol of Lord Krishna hugging his best friend Sudama. Here we have some porcelain dolls. This is a doll of Lord Ram and his beloved wife Sita. Here we have another porcelain doll of Shiva in his meditation pose. You can see he's sitting on some tiger skin. And this is another version of Shiva called Dakshinamurti. And this is Lord Guruvayurappan, which is Lord Krishna, an avatar of Vishnu. Here we have Lord Shiva with his wife Parvati. And this is a porcelain idol of Lord Hanuman assuming a meditation posture. And there we have Lord Krishna with his beloved Radha. Over here we have a porcelain doll of Dattatreya. Dattatreya is an Hindu yogi. He's supposed to be the representation of the reincarnation of the Trimurti, which is Lord Brahma, the creator, Lord Vishnu, the preserver, and Lord Shiva, the destroyer. And right next to that we have Lord Vishnu, who is residing on the lap of his consort, Goddess Lakshmi. And we have here Naradar, who is often hailed as the heralder of bad news in Hindu customs. It's not exactly that he brought bad news, it's just that most news he gave wasn't very pleasant to hear. There's often a saying that says, Naradar Kalangal Nalladil Mudiyam, which means even though he gives you bad news, it will somehow work out to be good in the end. I don't know how, but it happens. And over here we have Lord Venkatajalapati and his consort, Goddess Padmavati. And over here we have Goddess Annapurni. Annapurni is the goddess of bounty, harvest. It is believed that any land with famine should pray to Goddess Annapurni and she will grant you reprieve. And she's always depicted holding some vessel or container with food in it. And here we have her devotee who's waiting to receive something from here. That is Adi Shankaracharya. And on the end you have a porcelain doll of the god Dhanvantri. Lord Dhanvantri is considered the god of medicine, and it is believed that if anybody is suffering from some prolonged ailment, you should pray to God Dhanvantri for relief. And here we have an Urvalam that's happening. So you see the temple over there? So we've taken the idol from the temple on a temple procession or an Urvalam which is happening. So you have all the devotees who are thronged around and paying their respects to the idol. Over here we have a guy who's having a Poikal Kudare. You can see he's actually having a prop of a horse and then he's dancing. And over here you have a guy who's doing Karagatam. Karagatam is a very traditional Tamil dance ritual, and it's somewhat combining Bharatanatyam and local art form also. And we have all the devotees here thronged around the temple procession. Right next to the temple itself, you see a couple here who's getting married. And you have some pujaris there, and then they have a live kacheri which is happening. So they are essentially getting married at the temple. Over here we have the entire story of Lord Krishna, which is half arranged with Manbombay and half arranged with Kondapalli dolls over there. So I'll tell you the stories of Lord Krishna as we go along. So we start right from his birth over here. Can you see a prison here? That's where the evil Kamsa imprisoned his sister Devaki and her husband Vasudev. So there was a prophecy that foretold that the 8th child of Devaki would end up killing Kamsa. So Kamsa was so terrified that he imprisoned the two of them in a prison cell. But of course, little did he realize that Krishna would still be born and he would be a godly being. So these prison cells didn't matter to him. So when Krishna was born, Vasudeva and Devaki planned to swap the child, and so that Kamsa would never find them. So when Krishna was born, he didn't cry noisily like other children. And when he was born, mysteriously the guards who were outside the prison, they fell asleep, which made it very easy for Vasudeva to carry Krishna and then sneak him out of the prison. So you can see here, this is an idol of Vasudeva who's carrying Krishna, and he was wading through the waters to deliver him to safety. And then seeing the torrential downpour of rain that happened, the snake also provided cover for the baby Krishna. And then he was found and adopted by his foster mother Yashoda. Now Yashoda loved Krishna and Krishna loved Yashoda, but what he also loved was butter. And Yashoda used to churn butter, and Krishna was so fond of it that he's often depicted as a baby who's stealing butter. You can find many dolls of Krishna always stealing butter. So whenever his mom churned butter, Krishna would always be around to try to steal it. So much so that his mom decided to hoist the butter at a very high level so that Krishna wouldn't be able to reach it being a kid. But then he was no ordinary kid. He outsmarted everyone. He made his friends stand on top of each other, and then he climbed over them and he used to steal the butter. Krishna's mom got so tired of his butter stealing that one day she decided to tie him up to a tree. But Krishna was no ordinary child. He used his superhuman divine powers, and then he broke free, and he also ended up managing to break the tree trunk. But Krishna's early days were not just filled with butter stealing. He also had a lot of responsibilities as a god. So one of those was his story of the defeat of the evil snake Kalingan. So this snake was plaguing everybody in his village by poisoning the water supply. So everybody who drank from that river used to die. So Krishna decided to teach this evil snake a lesson. He overpowered the snake, and the snake had to concede defeat, and it bowed its head, and then Krishna got on top of his head and started dancing. This is called Kalinga Nartana. And here we have the story of how Krishna killed the evil Putana. When Kamsa learned that Krishna was indeed alive, he sent Putana to kill Krishna. Now Putana was a nursing mother. She smeared her bosom with poison, and then she went to poison Krishna. But Krishna knew what she was, and in the end he killed her. He killed her, and then he suckled on her teat and he withdrew blood. That's a pretty gory story. Over here we have Krishna, who lifted the entire mountain Govardhana, which is called Govardhanagiri. He lifted it on his little finger. This was to protect the villagers from the torrential downpour that happened. And then he saved all the villagers and the land by shielding them with the Govardhanagiri. And after all the fun and games, Krishna decided that it was time to get his revenge on the evil Kamsa. So he did return to Mathura, his birthplace, and then he overpowered Kamsa. This is him. And then he flung his crown off to the ground, and then he killed him. So the evil Kamsa was killed, and the next king was Ugrasena, he installed Ugrasena as the next king of Mathura. Now Krishna was often depicted as a very playful child and an even more playful adolescent. He was always said to have many female admirers whom we call the Gopikas. So he's often depicted dancing around with a lot of Gopikas. There was this one time where a bunch of Gopikas were taking a bath in a river, and then Krishna decided it would be very amusing if he hid their clothes. And that's what he's done in this picture here, where he's hidden all their clothes. And then the Gopikas were so shocked, and then they prayed and begged to Krishna to please give us back our clothes. So after all the fun Krishna had with the Gopikas, he also did get married. He had 16,000 wives, as legend has it. But his first wife was Rukmani, and I have a feeling that's Rukmani, whom Krishna is getting married to over there. And his other wife was Satyabhama. I believe that's the wife he's traveling with on the boat over there. One of the popular stories of Krishna is about his friendship with Sudama, which is hailed as one of the most iconic friendships of all time. Sudama was a very poor man who was born to a very poor family, but he and Krishna grew up as best of friends. Krishna went on to become king, but Sudama still lived in poverty. One day when they were all adults, Sudama's wife requested him to please approach Krishna for financial help. Sudama was extremely reluctant, but his wife persuaded him, so he made the long journey to visit his beloved friend Krishna. When he reached Krishna's kingdom, Krishna was so overwhelmed at seeing his childhood friend that he embraced him. And then he took him inside his palace, and then he made him sit on his throne. And that's the story of how Krishna washed his friend Sudama's feet. And Sudama was so overwhelmed by all the attention that he couldn't really explain to him that, Krishna, look, I'm here to ask you for a favor. He just couldn't do it. But he did bring something as offering for his friend. So Krishna asked him, okay, you've come to visit me after such a long time. What did you bring for me? Sudama was feeling very awkward because he held a very dirty rag with some rice gruel in it. He didn't really want to give that to Krishna, but Krishna still snatched it from his hand and he devoured it as if it was the most delicious meal he had ever had in his life. And once they met and spoke, Sudama decided that it was time to go back home. Krishna bade him farewell. Sudama never asked Krishna, never revealed to him the true purpose of why he went there. But he went home half happy that he managed to meet his good friend, but half unhappy because he didn't really get what he was looking for. Imagine his surprise when he went home, he found that his hut was no longer there, but his hut had been transformed to a huge palatial mansion. And his wife walks out of there garbed in opulent robes. So that was how Krishna actually helped his best friend Sudama. Even though Krishna is believed to have 16,000 wives, the stories always say that his eternal love was always Radha, which is why Krishna is always depicted playing a flute with his beloved Radha carrying a pot over her head, and they both are always seen together living in harmony. The most epic moment in Krishna's life was when he held a very pivotal position in the Kurukshetra war. He offered to be the chariot driver for Arjuna, one of the Pandava princes. And it was largely due to his role as chariot driver that Arjuna succeeded and the Pandavas won the war. So it was during this battle of Kurukshetra that Arjuna began to have a lot of doubts. He worried what was right, what was wrong, what was dharma, and what was not. And it was in this battlefield that Krishna bestowed on Arjuna Gita, which is knowledge, wisdom. And so this is actually him at the Gitopadesha. Now this is a scene depicting the creation of the universe. So the story has it that Vishnu was actually in a very deep slumber, and from his navel sprung a lotus from which Lord Brahma was born. And Lord Brahma, as we all know him, was the creator, and that's how the universe was created. Now Lord Vishnu is the preserver. So the story has it that he assumed 9 avatars until now, and each of these avatars were assumed at a time where he believed that balance had to be restored in the universe, where good had to triumph over evil. The 10th avatar is yet to be seen. So these are all his avatars. So his first avatar was that of a fish, which is the Matsya avatar. The second avatar was that of a tortoise, which is the Kurma avatar. And the third avatar was that of a boar, which is the Varaha avatar. And the fourth is of a half lion, half human, which is the Narasimha avatar. And the fifth avatar is of Vamana, which is a small Pandit. So the first 5 avatars represent a transition from an aquatic animal to an amphibian, to a boar, to a half half lion, half human, to that of a full human being. His sixth avatar is Parashuram, and the seventh is Ram. The eighth avatar is Balaram, or some people also believe that Buddha is another avatar of Lord Vishnu. His ninth avatar is Krishna, and the 10th avatar, which he has yet to assume, is the Kalki avatar. Now, legend has it that the Kalki avatar will emerge at the Kali Yuga, and when he emerges, it will end up in the destruction of the world and humankind's existence. And we are currently in the Kali Yuga. And right over here, we have an entire Kondapalli village. So you can see there that there are some ladies who are working hard at the field over there. So their prime occupation is agriculture. And here we have the ladies of the household engaged in various activities like weaving and grinding of various spices and batter. And you have traditional occupations in every village. This is called Kili Josiyam. So how Kili Josiyam works is you have a stack of cards here with fortunes in them, and then this man trains his parrot to pick a card at random. So the Kili goes and picks a card, and then he deposits the card in his hands, and then he reads out the fortune to the people who've come and to consult him. Over here we have a bridal procession. The bride is being carried in a palanquin here, and we have a huge wedding procession that's happening here with a lot of pomp and fanfare. And over here we have a couple which is getting married inside this little mandap here. Can you see them? And here we have some music, a live band, and at the far end you have a Kondapalli doll of Lord Ram, his wife Sita, his brother Lakshman, and of course his beloved and loyal Hanu. So that's it for our Golu, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.
So Nisha, what is your fondest memory of Navratri?
Well, Navratri is one of my very, very favorite festivals. I think primarily for two reasons. One is I used to go Golu shopping. I used to go Golu shopping with my grandmother, and I've gone with my mother, and it was always such a thrill to go to these shops and then buy new dolls. It was always very exciting to go to the shop and say, okay, what is the new set that you have this year, and keep adding more dolls to our collection. And we used to have a lot of fun arranging it, coming up with themes and stories. And the second reason I like Golu is because you get amazing sundal all 9 days of the festival, which is amazing. And yeah, that's pretty much how we celebrate Navratri. I hope this is not going into the bloopers. Okay. Stop.
So Nisha, what's your first childhood memory of Golu?
Okay, stop it. You should have at least made me reverse it. No, you can't just suddenly ask me questions like this. She smeared her bosom with poison and she went to nurse Krishna. But Krishna knew what she was and she killed him. I'm sorry, he killed her. Okay, you know what?